What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we are going to continue our coverage over X-Men comics as we work our way up to X-Men Inferno, the next crossover we have to cover. And we do pick up now with X-Factor issues number 29, 30, 31, and 32. This was a four-part storyline that introduces a new character known as Infectia. Now, when it comes to Infectia, she has the mutant ability to genetically mutate people on a molecule level, and we saw her at the very end of our last X Factor video because she wanted the X Factor's brand new ship. Now, we have no idea why, but she has been plotting to actually steal the ship for a while now. Now, there is something else I do want to mention about Infectia. See, she does have the ability to give people powers after they have been mutated. But here's the catch though, those powers are not going to last forever. Usually they're on a time limit. When time runs out, the powers goes away, but so does your life. Now, there is something else I do want to mention about Infectia. She is a spoiled brat. See, usually after she's able to trick men into helping her with different kinds of tasks, and after she's able to mutate them, once they get their powers, they show more love toward their powers than her, and they want to do more things for themselves rather than for her, and she hates that a lot. Example of a spoiled brat. Now, we do pick up with X Factor. Now, when we do pick up with X Factor, they are currently being interviewed by a bunch of reporters who have a lot of questions about the X Factor ship, the aircraft that was given to them by Apocalypse. Because remember, when it came to Fall of the Mutants, the X Factor team had to fight against Apocalypse on this aircraft that did cause a lot of damage across the city. Now, after our heroes were able to defeat Apocalypse, they then took over the aircraft. Now, in our last video, our heroes found out the aircraft is actually alive, being controlled by an AI system. But they also found out there was a bomb on the aircraft that had the ability to wipe out New York completely. Now, luckily for our heroes, they were able to stop the bomb before it had exploded. But these reporters, they want all the answers to their questions right now. Now, when it comes to X Factor, they do inform the people of New York they are going to move the aircraft over to a nearby ocean to cause less problems for the people of New York. Now, as soon as they said that, well, Infectia heard, and she is not happy at all. But now she has her next victim, another guy who finds her very attractive and wants to help her, and she's going to use him as a way to help her accomplish her next goal. Now, when it comes to Cyclops, he's not liking the idea of being interviewed by all these different reporters because his mind is somewhere else. His main goal currently is to hopefully find his missing son. After finding out that Madeline Pryor was alive the entire time that he assumed that she was dead, she also told him on live television to find their son. And of course, that's his main goal right now. And so he hates the idea of wasting time with reporters when he could use that time to hopefully find his son. Now, another character I do want to focus on is Beast, because around this point in Marvel Comics, Beast had lost his intelligence when he had fought against one of the horsemen of Apocalypse, better known as Pestilence. She gave him a random disease. Now, with that disease, it made him stronger, but it made him dumb, and Beast hates the idea of being out in public being dumb, not smart. Now, one of the reporters, known as Trish Tilby, she did a piece on X Factor to inform the people of New York what X Factor had to do to save the city. She also mentioned that one of the members of the team had lost their intelligence. Now, when it comes to Beast, he feels like Trish had called him out, that she had basically told everyone in the city that he is dumb, but she did not. She said one of the members of X Factor. That could be anybody on the team at this point. Either way, Trish has a crush on Beast, and she has been trying to build up their relationship. And Beast, he also has a crush on her and has been trying to build up that relationship. But now with Beast thinking that this could affect them down the road. Now, getting back over to Infectia, we do learn a tad bit more about the character, with the idea that when it comes to Infectia, her father also was a mastermind in genetics, and he made a lot of money. But after his passing, he gave everything over to his daughter. And so that explains why she has all these different kinds of devices inside her brownstone. Now, when it comes to her latest victim, Homeboy believes that he is about to have some fun time with Infectia, but in reality, she's about to use him for her next goal, which is to steal the aircraft of X Factor, and so she mutates him. Now, this leads into a big moment for Cyclops and Jean Grey. Let me explain. So around this time, Cyclops was married to Madeline Pryor because Jean Grey had supposedly died in the Dark Phoenix saga. He moved on, got with Madeline, married Madeline, had a son with Madeline, and everything was going great until Jean Grey had supposedly came back to life. He left his wife and kid behind to go be with Jean Grey and go form X Factor. After a while, he realized that was the wrong move and went back to Alaska to be with his wife and son, except when he got back home, he couldn't find them and he believed they were dead. And so he went back to X Factor and got with Jean Grey, except right after he got with Jean Grey, he then found out that Madeline was not dead at all. Matter of fact, she was with the X-Men. But when he found out, the X-Men had just gave up their lives to stop the adversary, including Madeline. Now, before she had supposedly died, she left a message behind saying, "Find our son. I'm alive, he's alive, you have to find him now." And when it comes to Cyclops, that's his goal. But the reason why he's so mad right now, because while he was over there kissing Jean Grey, his wife was alive and his son as well, and they were out there on their own trying to survive. Now, when it comes to Jean Grey, Cyclops should be mad at Madeline, because if she was alive, then why did she not try to reach out to him? Now, the next character I do want to focus on is Archangel. Now, around this time in Marvel Comics, Archangel is trying his best to find his ex-girlfriend, Candy. Now, the reason why she is an ex is because in the early days of X Factor Comics, when it came to Jean Grey, she wanted to be with Cyclops, but she couldn't because he was married to Madeline Pryor, and that made her single. Now, when it came to Angel, he's kind of like, okay, she's single. It's my time to move in, because he had a crush on her since the early days of X-Men comics. But the problem was, he was still with Candy. And so one day, when you had Angel trying his best to get with Jean Grey, Candy stopped by the base and caught them in the act. And she got very upset and left. And that was their breakup. But here's the thing, because Candy was also helping out with a lot of different things when it came to Archangel's businesses. Now, recently, he found out that she has been kidnapped, and he believes that she has been kidnapped possibly by someone who wanted to get rid of him. Now, he did find a clue that she was supposed to meet up with Trish, and apparently they did. And you have Trish tell Archangel the only thing she knows is that when it came to Candy, she found out that Cameron Hodge was not really a good person, that Cameron Hodge was also working alongside with a group known as the Right, whose main goal is to get rid of mutants across the board. But that's all Trish knows. And on top of that, she tells Archangel when she last heard about Cameron Hodge, he had died in a plane crash. Which she is correct, because we saw that back in Fall of the Mutants when he went after the New Mutants. Now, when it comes to Archangel, he does not believe that at all. And so now his goal is to continue to find more clues to hopefully find Candy. Now, getting back over to the Infectia plotline, you do have Infectia sending out her men that she had infected to attack the ship of the X Factor. By the way, she called these guys her antibodies. Either way, when it comes to these creatures, while they're fighting against X Factor, you have Jean Grey the entire time thinking of Madeline Pryor. Let me explain, y'all. So when it comes to Jean Grey, she's very upset with Madeline about the idea that Madeline did not fight for Cyclops. She technically just gave up and let him walk out the front door to go be with X Factor. But even then, when she knew that she was alive and Cyclops was looking for her, why did she not try to call out for Cyclops? Why did she not try to find her son? And so for Jean Grey, she looks at Madeline as a monster, as a horrible mother, a horrible wife, and all that anger inside of Jean Grey, she just explodes of psychic energy to the point where she is able to get rid of the 4 antibodies. But let's not forget, earlier, when it comes to Infectia, she told us that most times, or really all the time, when she gives someone abilities after being mutated, when that time runs out, their powers and their lives goes away. And so we're left to wonder, did Jean Grey just kill these 4 men? Or did their time run out? Either way, Infectia had lost her chance to get the aircraft of X Factor. Now, when it comes to Infectia, she's not done just yet. Matter of fact, she has a plan B. That plan B is Iceman. See, around this time in Marvel Comics, Iceman was a ladies' man. And so for her, this is great. So now she'll be able to use her abilities on Iceman to hopefully have him on her side, but to also have him hand the ship over to her. And so now she'll go after Iceman. And speaking of Iceman, you currently have him outside the ship right now with the trainees of X Factor. Because remember, the original purpose of X Factor was to continue on with the dream of Charles Xavier. And so they had went around and found different young mutants that they could train to hopefully teach them how to control their powers. Except when it comes to Iceman, he's kind of a goofball. And we kind of find out that him and the trainees had created a new kind of game, and this game is called Volleyball. Now, Volleyball may sound like volleyball, but Iceman has a baseball bat. Either way, they use the powers of Boom Boom, where she is able to create small time bombs and use those time bombs as ball for their volleyball game. Either way, when it comes to Cyclops and Jean Grey, they do not like the game at all because Boom Boom's time bombs can do a lot of damage if they're not being controlled properly. And so you have Cyclops and Jean Grey get angry at Iceman, but they do inform everyone that they are going to leave and head over to Dallas. Now, after you have Cyclops and Jean Grey head over to Dallas, you do have Iceman and Beast head into New York City, because when it comes to Iceman, he loves all the attention that him and X Factor are currently getting, because with X Factor being able to stop Apocalypse and save New York, they are the most famous people in the city right now. They're getting a lot of love, and so with that love, Iceman is loving it. Now for Beast, he's not really loving it at all. He just tagged along because Iceman told him to. But for Beast, he'd rather be back at home, away from the people. But Iceman, he's all like, no, ladies, come here. Now the entire time our heroes are out there, they're being watched by Infectia, who's just waiting for the right moment. Now, while you have Beast out in the city trying to clear his mind, he does see a police officer. Now, this police officer is going to be Infectia's next target. Now, this police officer is a great example of the idea that even though X Factor was able to save the city from Apocalypse, you still have people out there who hate mutants a lot, like this police officer. And so he does express how much he hates mutants, but then he's confronted by Infectia. Now when it comes to Infectia, she wants to use him as a way to get closer to Iceman. And so we see her infect him and turn him into one of her antibodies. But when she did that, Beast saw her, not all the way. He did see her and the officer disappear in the alleyway, but then reappear with the officer looking different and her still looking somewhat normal. And Beast is wondering what in the world happened in that alleyway. Now, the reason why Cyclops and Jean Grey are heading over to Dallas because that was the last spot the X-Men were seen. Because when they had given up their lives to stop the adversary, they were in Dallas fighting alongside with the Freedom Force team to save the world. And so this is Cyclops and Jean Grey saying, let's go find Freedom Force. Maybe, just maybe, they can help us to figure out what happened to my son, but what happened to the X-Men as well. Now, out of nowhere, we do get this page where we do pick up with a random aircraft attaching itself to a house in the middle of a random town. Now, inside the aircraft, we do see a mysterious egg-shaped character. Now, we already know who this is, but for the sake of the story, we're kind of wondering who is this character and what do they have in mind for this house they just landed on. But getting back over to the Infectia storyline, you have Infectia arrive at the restaurant that Iceman is at. Now, when she does arrive, she pretends that she's being chased after by her antibody. But here's the thing, she's not, but the antibody is acting like a crazy monster who wants her so badly. And so Iceman believes that she is a woman in danger and he has to do what's best to protect her. Now, Beast knows there's something up with her, and Beast tries to tell Iceman, hey man, you could not trust her. I feel like she's actually with that creature who's trying to attack you. But because Beast is now getting dumber and dumber, Iceman no longer actually wants to listen to Beast and believes that Beast is just now some crazy person speaking nonsense. Also because he likes ladies so much, and Infectia is kind of cute, he wants to get with her. And so once you have Iceman being able to take down the antibody, he's kind of down to take her back to their aircraft. Now, getting back over to Archangel, we see him breaking into one of his own facilities. Now, something else to mention about Archangel is that in the middle of X Factor, we were left to believe that Angel had died, but he did not die. He was actually saved by Apocalypse and brought back as Archangel. But after being dead for a short period of time, you did have everyone move on, but they also had to do Angel's will. In his will, he handed the entire company over to Cameron Hodge because he believed that Cameron was a close friend. Now, even though Archangel is around now, the world still has no idea that Warrington is alive again. Either way, we see him going now to different places that really belongs to him to hopefully find any information about Candy to figure out why she has been taken away. Now, you do have Jean Grey and Cyclops being able to find Freedom Force. Now remember, Freedom Force was Mystique's old brotherhood of evil mutants who have recently turned good only because the government says, if you help us out, we will forgive you for all the crimes that you had committed. Now, when it comes to Freedom Force, they are not trying to tell Cyclops and Jean Grey anything about what happened to the X-Men or possibly his son. Instead of saying, listen, we're here to arrest you because there is a new law. If you are a mutant, you have to register. And when it comes to Cyclops and Jean Grey, they haven't done that. And so the Freedom Force, it's time to arrest them. Now, getting back over to the Infectia plotline, you have Infectia and Iceman and Beast arrive back at the aircraft. So Iceman is going to give her, it seems like, what she wants, which is the aircraft. Except to make sure she can get it, she has to kiss Iceman. Now, when they arrive, you have Iceman introduce Infectia to all the trainees. And all the trainees are wondering who in the world is this woman. But right off the bat, they realize that they cannot trust her, especially how Beast says some things about her. Either way, you now have Infectia trying her best to kiss Iceman. And if she does, she may be able to actually mutate him and then possibly get the aircraft that she wants so badly. Now, luckily for Iceman, his trainees were there to stop him because you did have Boom Boom send out a time bomb that did separate Iceman and also Infectia. Now, Iceman, he's ticked off because he wanted that kiss, but you didn't have Leech being able to use his ability to cancel out Iceman's powers by saying we should all go to bed. Now, the only reason why the trainees are doing this because Beast told them we have to keep her away from Iceman. He's not trying to listen to me and understand that she's not a good person. That matter of fact, she's a bad guy trying to get something out of Iceman. And so that begins the process of our trainees beginning to do different things to keep Iceman and Infectia from being able to kiss each other. Now, when we jump over to Cyclops and Jean Grey, they're about to fight against Freedom Force, and I love this so much because you do have Freedom Force believe because they have the numbers, they should be able to easily defeat Cyclops and Jean Grey. Except Cyclops is a man right now on a mission. He wants to know where in the world is his son. He's not playing around. And so you have Jean Grey and Cyclops beginning the process of beating down on Freedom Force. I mean, literally beating down on his team. At the end of the section, you have Cyclops saying, "Where is my son?" I feel like you guys might have some answers that could help me figure out where to look for my son. But getting back over to the base of X Factor, you have the trainees trying all these different kinds of things to keep Iceman and also Infectia from being able to kiss one another. Now here's the thing, in New York it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Everyone should be somewhat exhausted, but they're not. Iceman, he's on a mission. Infectia is on a mission. The trainees are on a mission. It's kind of hilarious because Iceman really just wants a kiss so bad, and these kids are trying their best to protect him. And on top of that, let's not forget the aircraft, the base of the X Factor team is also alive. It's an AI system. It goes out of its way to also help out Iceman to make sure that he does not kiss Infectia as well. We then pick up with that egg-shaped like character again, and when we do, we see her getting ready to release someone into the house that her aircraft had attached to earlier. And when that person walks into that house, all we hear, or see, is gunshots, and we're left to wonder if this other character killed off the entire family. Now getting back over to Cyclops and Jean Grey, they just got done fighting against Freedom Force. Now at the end of their battle, you did have Destiny tell our heroes something very important about how they may be able to find Cyclops' son. And she says, if you want to make sure your son has a future, you have to realize his future is connected to your past. That's all she said. Well, also she says, listen, I can tell that he is your son, Cyclops. I can also tell that he is not Jean Grey's son, that he belongs to Madeline Pryor. Either way, she says your destiny is back in New York if you want to be able to find your son and save him. Now getting back over to the Archangel plotline, you have Archangel just flying around to different locations that used to belong to him. But the reason why he's doing that is trying to find more information about Candy. Now while he is doing that, he has no idea that he's being watched by a mysterious group. Now we're left to believe that this mysterious group is most likely more members of the Right, but we have no idea. Either way, their goals are very similar to the Right, to get rid of the mutant race. But on top of that, their goal now is to go after people who have no idea they are mutants, to hurry the process of killing off the mutant race. Now getting back over to Infectia and Iceman, because Infectia was not able to get a kiss from Iceman, she took him back to her house to have some alone time, but to also be able to get a kiss from him. Now, as soon as they arrive, she makes sure that Iceman is bound to one of her machines and his powers are canceled out. So then she'll be able to do whatever she wants to him, except Beast follow them, and Beast stepped in to save his friend. Now, luckily for Infectia, she did have someone else in the building that she does infect and turns into an antibody to fight against Beast. Now, Beast is able to take down the antibody very quickly, but then when it comes to Infectia, it looks like she is about to go ahead and kiss Iceman, except Beast jumps right in front of the kiss, and then he is mutated by Infectia. There is a huge explosion, and we see that he's now half blue furry again and half human looking, and we're wondering, is Beast about to turn back into his blue furry form again? Now, we are going to go ahead and cover X Factor number 32. Even though it's not really that important for the overall coverage of X Factor in X-Men comics, I still want to go ahead and cover it, because you do have X Factor fighting against the Avengers, but not really the Avengers. Let me explain here. So you do have the Avengers right now donating the old spot where Avengers manages to be at as a green space for the city. Now, while you have a lot of people there celebrating the mayor and the Avengers, you have a group of people wearing coats and hats, hiding their faces, also watching the Avengers as well. But while watching the Avengers, they really express that they don't like the Avengers, especially Thor. But then out of nowhere, they go out of their way to shake hands with the Avengers. And then after doing that, they are then teleported to their spaceship. And we come to find out the 4 people who had teleported away belong to an alien race known as Zartan, and they're being led by Lord Zano. Now, this is not the first time we have seen Lord Zano in Marvel Comics. Matter of fact, him and his father have fought against Thor multiple times and lost to Thor multiple times, especially when it comes to trying to conquer the Earth. And so, when it comes to Lord Zano, this is all about trying to get revenge, to hopefully conquer the Earth. And so when it comes to his minions, the reason why they went down to Earth and shook hands with the Avengers is so that they are able to copy the DNA structure of the Avengers and change their body appearance to look just like the Avengers, to copy their powers and their weapons as well. But then out of nowhere, they detect another spaceship on Earth. And that would be X Factor in their spaceship. Now, when it comes to X Factor, they're right now just checking in on Beast, who is currently in a coma, thanks to him kissing Infectia. And you also see that Iceman is very upset with himself. He blames himself for what happened to Beast, and technically, he should, because Beast tried to warn him and he ignored Beast because all he wanted was some Infectia in his life. Now, here's the thing, because out of nowhere, the ship warns X Factor, hey, the Avengers had just teleported on the ship. When I last checked, only mutants are allowed on the ship, and the Avengers are not mutants at all. So how in the world are they able to get onto the ship? Now, getting over to the trainees, we kind of find out that they're very worried about what could possibly happen to them, because they feel like sooner or later, X Factor is no longer going to keep them around, meaning that they could most likely go to a boarding school or just somewhere else in the world for the time being, because X Factor is no longer in the business scenes into training young people on how to control their powers. But then out of nowhere, they get locked inside their playroom by the ship. And we kind of find out why the children got locked up, because of Cyclops. To protect them, he told the ship to lock them away until they know why in the world the Avengers are here for. Now, when it comes to X Factor, Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Iceman, they do go confront the Avengers, not knowing that this is not the Avengers at all. And as soon as they arrive in the same room with the Avengers, it leads into a battle. Now, when it comes to the trainees, they realize that X Factor is not fighting against the Avengers, but they also realize that X Factor has not realized that they're not fighting against the Avengers. Now, the reason why the trainees know that, because when they turn their TV on, they see the Avengers on TV, but then see the Avengers in their base. And they're like, there's no way they'd be in two places at the same time. And so you have the trainees trying their best to convince the ship to let them go to help out the X Factor team to fight against the Avengers. Now, luckily for X Factor, the children do arrive just in time to help out. Matter of fact, thanks to the children, you have our heroes realize that this is not the Avengers at all. Instead, it's just a group of aliens. And you have our heroes being able to stop the aliens and then be able to move on with their day. Now, to close on today's video, we jump back over to Chicago, where we do pick up with that mysterious group from earlier, but now we pick up with their leader. Now, we're still left to believe that this could most likely be the Right, but on top of that, this could be Cameron Hodge right now. Either way, you have their leader using magic to contact a demon from Limbo, and that would be in Azareth, and I really hope I pronounce his name correctly. Now, when it comes to in Azareth, they're trying to make a deal with one another. For the leader, what he wants in return is immortality, but what in Azareth wants is powerful mutants. Now, luckily for the demon, when it comes to this group right here, they have been tracking down mutants across the world, and they do know a few who are really powerful. Some could possibly be children. And so you have the leader saying, fine, if you want mutants, I will go my way to get you those mutants. But in return, you must give me immortality. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.